Hey everyone, welcome back to Alchemy with Zero Phase. I'm Eric. I know it's been a while since I posted some things. I've been going through a lot of things, just sick. There's been sicknesses going around. My family got sick, business stuff, work stuff, a lot of things that happened. So I apologize for that. We're hoping to bring some really cool videos here in the next little while. We're going to do a complete series of videos on Automatic 1111, how to get it installed, configure it, basic walkthrough. This will be a more formal educational video series instead of just the one-off, like, hey, this is how you get it installed. I want to actually walk people through in each video doing specific things and what to watch for. So look forward to that. And in this video, though, I want to go through something that a lot of people are talking about and going in. It's been out for a little while, but you're seeing a lot more of it, and that's creating animations with AI. Now, with Stable Diffusion and Automatic 1111. This actually isn't too hard. It's a pretty easy process, and you get some pretty good results. In fact, let me show you a couple of animations I've done recently here. There's this one right here. I wanted something that was like, you know, the whole Dragon Ball Z thing, and this one actually did pretty good. This one was using a process that actually involves control net, so that you get a little more consistency with the character pose, but giving it enough space or leniency to allow for movement. Let me see if I can show you a couple others here. This is one I did yesterday for somebody on our Discord. He wanted to know what the prompt was I used. And I said, it's, you know, no different than any other prompt that I did. It's just a matter of how you're doing the control net. Not actually, this one didn't use control net. I apologize. It's how you're using Animatediff, the settings you're doing, to try and get at least semi-decent consistency. I tried doing one with a dog. Let's see. I don't think it turned. I mean, this one's okay. It's not the best in the world. You get a little bit of movement. He's kind of moving his rear, and this is all, you know, based on just whatever the AI decides to give you. But this did use control net to get a little more consistency. It's kind of fun. Let's see. Let me pull up a couple more that I did here that actually utilize control net to help with character stabilization. Let's see, I think this one is it. Yeah, so, no, I mean, this one's okay. I don't like how the clouds kind of come in and go back. There's actually a couple more here. Let's see. I did this one. I was having so much fun with this one. I did a bunch of them. So this one was cool because you get a little bit of movement in the character. The wind is hair slightly being blown in the wind. You get some movement in the clouds. It's all very smooth, just easy, you know, very soft. And one more here. So I was trying to do some portraits as well. These actually turned out pretty cool. The chair, the back does kind of move. I don't know if the AI is just assuming it's a rocking chair or what, but you get this gentle movement. You know, the characters, there's no flickering, which is really cool. This one was just a prompt. There's no control net in this one. So anyway, let's dive in. Let's show you how I do this, and hopefully you get some similar results. It's pretty fun. Just as a caveat, I do have a pretty beefy system. So if I have a RTX 3080 Ti card with 12 gigs of VRAM, so that does help in the speed of the render process on this. Somebody asked if I could post the specs to my system somewhere, so I think on the main channel page I'll post the specs to my system. It's a 10th gen Core i9 processor, so it's got 10 cores with hyper-threading, so it's like 20 cores. I've got 128 gigs of DDR4 memory. I already told you the video card, and every drive in my system is a solid-state drive, either NVMe or an actual SATA solid state. It does help with the render speeds, but mostly you're looking at your video card. You know, I recommend at least anything with at least 8 gigs of VRAM, 2080 or higher. You can have lower video cards. It's just going to take a long time to render a lot of this stuff. So first thing we want to do is come up with a prompt. So let's just come over here. I'm going to stick with doing a portrait. again. I feel like those are pretty easy. They're pretty static in the sense that there's not a lot of movement going on. Certain words will trigger the AI to incorporate flashy streamers and lights moving all over the place. So we're going to stick with something very simple. We're going to do a portrait. Digital illustration of a young girl. Let's have her sitting. I don't know. Just let's say. You know, let's just have a young girl in a garden. Let's get our prompt. Let's copy this over and we'll examine the prompt because there are some things that will kind of make the AI, the animation, kind of not break down, but like add way too much activity when you just want some gentle movement, right? So we got an intimate digital illustration, vibrant colors. So vibrant might throw in some stuff. We'll render it out and see what it does. Young girl amidst blooming garden, flowering golden locks, innocent eyes, floral crown, whimsical dress. That might cause some stuff there, but we're going to try it anyway. Playful butterflies, enchanting ambience, soft sunlight filters through the foliage, lively atmosphere. Yeah, we're going to get rid of that. That will cause way too much motion to happen. Okay, so one thing that I've found, before we jump any further, I really got to talk to you about this. You need to have the Animatediff extension installed. Okay, let's jump over to our extensions here. Go to installed here and come down here and I'll show you the link. And we'll include the link in the description as well if you're unfamiliar with it. So it's the SD Web UI Animatediff. Okay. If you don't have ControlNet, you need to make sure you have ControlNet. Make sure you have the latest versions of both of these installed. Okay. There was a while where it wasn't working right with ControlNet. Somebody came out with a slightly altered version of ControlNet, and then later on, whatever the problem was got fixed. And so you just need to use the main branches of Animatediff and Stable and ControlNet. Okay. So probably install it via the link. So if you go to the actual page, just grab the link here under the code button, just copy that, go over to your extensions, install from URL, paste it, and install it. I would recommend definitely restarting your back-end interface, or the back end of it, so that you have everything's been refreshed, everything is set up right. Okay. So let's go back over to text image. And when you get it installed, you're going to have the accordion button down here that says Animatediff. You're going to have the ControlNet down here as well. We'll go into that a little later here. Okay, so we've got our prompt in there. We've modified it a little bit. We may modify it a little bit later, but let's go down and enable Animatediff. And we're going to go through this real quick. Okay, we're going to enable it. And now you do need to download the models for this. Okay, there are several models, and I'm going to be honest with you. I'm not sure why, but the only one that really works consistently is the MMSD V1.5 or 1.5 V2. Okay, I've tried using these other ones, and maybe I'm doing something wrong. I'll have to check on that later, but I can't get it to work. And the SDXL beta model doesn't work either; it just spits out noise. I'll do some more research on that, but what this tutorial is for is just to use the 1.5 or 1.5 V2 checkpoint. Okay, you can find those. Let's go back over to here, and they should have links to the models down here. Let's go down to, I think it's Model Zoo, and then so they have several different places you can grab these from. I would recommend just going to Hugging Face. And grabbing all these models, or at least the SD1.5 V2. So if you go to Hugging Face, You're going to grab the model, the Safe Tensors model, which is going to be this one right here. Okay, you're going to download it. You're going to drop it into the model folder under the extension. Give me a second here. So as you can see here, when you go into your Stable Diffusion Web UI folder, you go into your extensions folder, and then SD Web UI Animate Diff, and then there's a model folder. Okay, when you download those models, you're just going to drop them into here. Okay, once you drop those into that folder, you can click the refresh button, and it should refresh that list and give you access to those models. Again, I'm not sure what's up with the other ones. Just use this one for right now, and we'll get you going on this. Okay, some of these, by default, it's going to be on GIF for, you know, however you guys want to say it, and PNG. Now, they do have options for MP4, WebP, WebM. I've not messed with those. I tried doing MP4 once. I think it requires some other things installed in order for that to work. But by default, the GIF and PNG works great. Okay, enable it, and then when it comes to the number of frames, down here, context batch size is automatically set to 16. So if you don't do anything with this number, it's just going to automatically default to 16 frames. Okay. For the animations I've been doing 32 frames and leaving it at 8 frames per second. I've changed this. I've upped it to like 16 frames per second, and you do get something that looks a little more solid, but what I found is it tends to kind of jump all over the place a little bit. You see a lot of the morphing going on between different sections of the animation, and I didn't really like that, so I left it at 8. I feel like that works really well. You have some other options here. The N, RP, R plus P, and A deal with how the animation loops. When you have it on N, I don't think it loops the animation, or does very little to loop it. The RP, R-P, I should say, does create this pretty smooth loop animation. Okay, R plus P will, from what I read, it does a better effort in looping the animation a little smoother, and A will force the system to basically, the last frame will end up being exactly what the first frame looks like. I've not really seen a need to move from R-P, at least in what I do. I'm just doing simple animations. I just like seeing the cool animations come out. I'm not diving into the whole technical side of these here. I don't know what stride does. I've messed with that. I'm going to be honest with you. I really don't know what that does. Overlap, again, this is a number that varies between, I've messed with it, it won't go over -2, -1, or 1. It has to be like -1, between -1 and 1. Some numbers in between there. I want to say it has something to do with how each frame overlaps. Okay. Now, the frame interpolation, this is kind of what helps you generate those smoother looking animations. When you turn this on, what it's going to do is generate the X number of frames between each frame generated by the AI. So it's doing what's called interpolation, meaning it's trying to generate between 2 different frames of the animation what it thinks the in-between frames would look like. So you can actually add more frames to your animation by doing this and actually make the animation longer. I love messing with this. It makes it look smoother, but I stick to like right around 2 to 3 frames. We're just going to do 2 in this, okay? So that's pretty much it on that. We're just going to be using 1.5 checkpoint on this, which means you also need to have a 1.5 checkpoint selected as your Stable Diffusion checkpoint. And I love using Azovia, RPG, basically the RPG artist tool, V3 with the VAE baked in. Okay, this is a 1.5 model. It works really well, and it actually works at the slightly higher resolutions than normal 1.5 models. And so I've got that selected, and we're going to set the resolution to, since this is a portrait, we're going to go ahead and do a 4:5. Okay, I've got this extension here is the aspect ratio helper plugin or extension, I brought this up in a couple of my other videos. It's a really great extension to have, allowing you to switch between resolutions real easy. It's called SD Web UI Aspect Ratio Helper. Okay, and what you're seeing here is in the settings. There's a Java setting that you enable for it. If we come down here, I'll show you real quick. Aspect Ratio Helper, and you come up and you enable the Java aspect ratio controls. Okay, and that will actually give you this neat little drop down that allows you to either lock the aspect 1 to 1, 2 to 3. You can actually add your own in there. I added a 8.5 to 11 because I was working with some creating coloring book pages. So we're going to do a 4.5. Okay, this resolution is a little too high, so we're going to drop this down to 768. Okay, it automatically adjusts the width. We're not changing anything else here. We're going to leave the steps the same. We're going to change the sampler to Euler A just because it helps render a little quicker. And because we are working with a 1.5 model, we are going to set up a negative prompt. Okay. Any negative prompt you guys normally use is probably fine. Okay. If you go to my main YouTube page, I do have a link to a shared Google Drive. If you want to go in, you can look at my negative prompts. I have my styles CSV file there, so you can take a look at that. Okay, so we're not messing with any of these other settings. We're only enabling Animate Diff, setting it to 32 frames. You can set it to 16. I'm assuming that the amount of VRAM on your video card will kind of dictate what you're able to do with this, but you can set this to any number of frames you want, is my understanding, and it's basically takes longer the more frames. I've done 64 frames and come up with some pretty interesting stuff. So outside of that, that's it. So we're going to go ahead and render this, see what it comes out with, and hopefully we get something that looks nice. Again, a lot of it depends on the prompt, but we'll see what it looks like here in just a few minutes. If you have it set to real-time viewing as it renders, you should get something that pops up here in a little bit as it engages the checkpoints and starts the render process. We'll be back in just a minute. Okay, so it's finished, and as you can see, this one actually turned out really well. I was a little leery of adding in, the butterflies, where it says here, where is it? Playful butterflies. Typically we'll add a lot of motion to it, but it kept the main character fairly stable. So this turned out really beautiful. Let's see if I can get to full screen here. So, I mean, hair stayed solid. The face is solid. There's just that gentle movement. The dress actually stayed pretty consistent too, which is great. You're just getting the fluttering of the butterflies and the flowers kind of coming in and going out. So I think overall, this is a great animation. This turned out beautiful. You can go in and do small things too. Like I would say, see where it says soft sunlight flittering through the foliage. I would actually get rid of this. We don't need that. The butterflies, if you like the butterflies, great. It adds a lot of noise. But if I'm just looking for just a nice soft movement image, I would get rid of that says playful. Anything that adds high energy to the image is going to add a lot of stuff changing. Okay, so we're going to leave it at that. Whimsical dress, I think it's great. I think everything else is fine. We're going to render this one more time. So that render took about, maybe it's because I restarted my interface, it took about 10 minutes. Okay, the fewer frames you do, like if you did 16, it's going to take less time. Okay, so I'm going to do those changes that we just did. We're going to generate it again. Okay, and see if we can't reduce the amount of stuff happening. Like you see the sunlight come in on one side and then it shifts over to the other side, right? So we're going to see if by just saying soft sunlight, we try to stabilize that a little bit. And we'll come back here in just a minute when it gets done. Okay, so we're done with that one. As you can see in this one, the character does have a lot more movement to her. It stays fairly consistent. She comes closer to the camera and goes back. I actually stopped the generation while I had the video paused because I completely forgot. I wanted to add something else a little to it to give her a little more facial expression, so I went back and just added in the word smiling. And that tends to animate the character a little bit more with turning the head, because it's adding a sense of coyness, demure, that kind of thing. So I think that, again, it turned out great. The light shifts less. It does kind of still go from one side to the other, but it's a lot smoother. We got rid of the butterflies. Everything else stays pretty consistent. I love how, as she's coming in closer, her eyes close and then open again. I had another animation of a portrait of an older man that did the same thing. It was really good. You will see, depending on what you're animating, and again, the words you're putting in your prompt, fast movement, or things like arms morphing from one side to the other kind of thing. So you get a little weirdness that way, and it's not bad. Now you're seeing some gradients here because what it's doing is it's converting this to a GIF, or GIF, where the color palette is less, and so you're going to see a lot of banding in the gradients here on that. I'll be researching this more because I want to see if we can get this turned into a regular video, using the MP4 option instead of an animated GIF. So, yeah. Oh, the other thing that it was telling me in the console that I didn't notice before was to make sure that you have the WebUI Deforum extension installed. So let me show you that real quick here. This does something. I mean, I've been able to generate these animations just fine without this, but in the console, it was throwing an error when it was ending the animation or the generation, saying that this extension needed to be installed, and it was giving me the link. So I went there and did the same thing. I copied this, went to the extensions, added via URL, and got that installed. Now, I'm not getting the error in the console. I don't know if it actually changed anything with the animation. I mean, this is great. Maybe it did. Maybe it's solidified some things a little bit more. We'll see how it does moving into the next section here. So, yes, this video is going to be a little longer than 20 minutes because there's a whole nother part to this that deals with utilizing control nets. So if this is good enough for you, you can stop the video here. If not, we're going to move into something a little more advanced that deals with using control net to kind of control the consistency of the characters when you're dealing with something that has maybe a little more detail or whatever. So what we're going to do is we're going to do a different image. So let's generate a different prompt here for something else. We did have, you saw the animation I did of like the Dragon Ball Z character kind of flying through the air, cities passing by. Let's do something similar to that. Let's do this. Let's do a, not a portrait, wide angle, digital illustration of a Warhammer, 40K. I can't remember what they're called, the elite soldiers. Anyway, and this is probably just capitalization, yeah. So Warhammer 40K soldier in royal armor on a battle field. Let's get a prompt for that, and then interesting. Let's do this. Let's get a range of prompts. Man, I am having a hard time typing today, aren't I? I'm just going to grab that first one. And we'll adjust based on what we need to do. Okay, let's drop this in here. So what are we working with? We have a wide angle digital illustration. So the character in here will be a little more centered in the frame. You'll get a full body shot because it's a wide angle shot. Detailed armor, Warhammer 40K soldier, regal presence, battlefield chaos. So this is going to introduce a lot of action, explosions, dusty terrain. We're going to get rid of the explosions. That's just going to add way too much to the animation. Even the battlefield chaos may do that. Intense battle, epic confrontation, futuristic atmosphere. So we're going to leave the futuristic atmosphere. We're going to get rid of these ones. Powerful weaponry. Yeah, that's fine. We'll leave that. Now we're going to change the aspect ratio to something a little more landscape. In fact, let's do a 16:9. And we're, to speed things up, we're going to drop this down to 640. Okay. Leave everything else the same. We're also going to drop this down to 20 sampling steps just to see if we can speed up what we're doing here. Okay. And instead of running the animation right away, okay, because we're going to be using control, I want a base image. So we're going to disable this and we're going to generate a single image. Okay. That's not bad. Let's generate a few of them here. I want to see if we can't get something that looks just like it's something that could be moving, but it's kind of standing still. Yeah, I like. So one of the things that's cool about some of these is when you include whether it's the smoke or other stuff. Like this one here or the one down here in the corner might actually be a decent one. Now, it's not going to look exactly like this. Okay, you're going to lose some of the detail because of what it's doing in the animation, but we can have smoke and other things. So let's grab that one. That one's pretty cool. So what we're going to do is we're going to come down here to the control net. We're going to drag that image into there. We're going to enable it. We're going to enable pixel perfect. And then what I typically like working with is Canny, okay? Because that typically generates a good outline of everything that's in the image. We're going to allow preview, and we're going to show the preview on this. So you see it's capturing the smoke back here, and obviously the details of the main character. Let's go back up. We're going to re-enable the Animate diff. We're going to leave all the other settings the same here. We're not going to touch anything else. Okay, come back down here, and here's the trick to this. If we leave the settings as they are with the control net, okay, meaning control weight and stuff like that, you're going to get a pretty static image. There might be some color shifting, but everything else kind of just stays. You might get some changes in the background, that kind of thing. But if you want the character itself to actually do something, or just a kind of that gentle sway movement, you got to give control net a little bit of leeway. And I found that if you get it down to about 0.2, anything below 0.3 is typically good. The lower the number, the more movement there's going to be. Okay, and I found that right around 0.2 to 0.25 is good. You're going to get that gentle movement. You're going to get some animation in the background. And you can actually leave everything else the same. We're just going to leave it, okay? That's all we have to do. We're going to run this through and generate it and see what it looks like. So let's come back up here, hit generate. Okay, so a little mistake I made on this one here is I had the patch count set to 4 for the images, and I forgot to shut that off. So it actually was going to render out 4 different animations. I decided to I stopped it, but after it did the first 2 animations, and as you can see, this first one turned out phenomenal. I mean, it looks awesome. He's just that gentle movement, he's kind of moving his arm a little bit. You got the fire raging in the background. Yeah, very cool. And this one here, armor turned out a little clearer. Again, you just got some gentle movement. He's not moving a whole lot in this one here. Fire and the smoke. Again, this is why I actually don't mind the fire and smoke. The animation handles that. Animatediff handles that really well. And there was another one, but so if you stop an animation early, this is what it looks like. So it's kind of like this shifting blobs of color kind of moving around. We're going to render this one more time. But what I want to do is I like the movement in this one. His arm kind of swings a little bit. There's no morphing, so he kind of balls up his hand a little bit. Let's go down here to the control net, and we're going to turn down the control weight again. We're going to bring it down to 0.15. This will introduce some more movement. We might get some morphing. We'll see what happens. And obviously, we're going to make sure the batch count is at 1 and hit generate on that. And let's watch it go through and do this here. Because I changed the resolution down a little closer to 512, these models are designed specifically for 512 by 512. They do work at other aspect ratios, but having the width and height down a little closer, that does help in the speed, and reducing the number of sampling steps does help as well. So let's go and be back in just a second. All right, so as you can see, there's definitely a lot more going on in this. And what you have here is the background doing a lot of shifting. And again, that is because we are reducing the number on the control net. I might bring it up to 0.2 to see if we can reduce that. But you do get the movement in him and kind of shifting around, like his armor's kind of shifting too. And I mean, something like this would just be great to throw as a background on something, you know? So let's render one more time. Now you can try different things. I've experimented with a lot of different things, and one of those things is switching between like canny or soft edge to try and figure out like what's going to give the best result on this. And just through my experience, canny seems to net the best result when it comes to giving you very stable looking characters, at least when doing it this way. There's other animation techniques where people use actual video. You're supposed to be able to bring in a video, breaks out the frames, and then just re-renders each of those frames. But if you're looking for something just right out of the AI, doing it this way is kind of fun. It's pretty quick. We can do a soft edge real quick here, just so you can see what it does. We're gonna bring this up to 0.25 again. I liked that. Actually, let's do 0.2, and we're gonna leave all the other settings the same. We'll do the preview here so you can see what that's going to look like. So we're probably going to get quite a bit of animation in the background. Okay, I'm not sure exactly what it's going to do with the character. I seem to remember it kept it fairly stable, but I seem to remember there was a lot more noise with this technique. So let's render that out and see what that looks like. All right, here we go. So you know, I'm actually pretty impressed with this one. It turned out better than I thought it was going to be. We might even be able to turn the control net weight down on this particular one, because as you can see, the background does not shift, but you get the fire blazing in the background and slight shifting in the smoke. You see there's movement in him. He's kind of moving around. It almost reminds me of old video games where they would do like an intro animation or something like that. And there wasn't much movement. It was just a character kind of just shifting there, you know, or almost like NPCs in games where they're just kind of doing their repeat movement, you know. It's kind of fun. Let's turn the... I know we're pretty much done with the video. If you have comments or whatever, questions, put them in the comments, join our Discord. But I'm going to turn this down one more time to... I mean, it held that so well. I could probably go down to 0.1 on this. Just see what it does here. Let's just go to 0.5 and see what that does. I'm really impressed with that. Let's see what happens here. Okay, so we're done with this one. There's definitely more movement in the character. He's staying in position, but he's kind of moving around a little bit more, but you definitely get a lot more activity going on in the background. It's not as stable as before. And this could be some giant piece of machinery on the battlefield, because you get some static over here, or, you know, solid stuff over here that only morphs a little bit. But you're definitely getting a lot more. So with this one, you could probably go with just like a 0.2 and get some really good results. And, you know, changing the words too helps with that as well. In here, detailed armor of a Warhammer 40k soldier attacking. You know, you could put in an action word of some sort to see if it changes what's going on in the animation. Okay, I'd have to say I think this is probably my favorite. So as you can see, there's more movement on his part. He looks like he's trying to walk, but at the 0.2, it kept the background very stable. There's only a very slight movement. You got the flames and the smoke going, and you got him kind of doing his thing like he's walking almost. Very cool. I love that one. That one turned out great. And you get a lot of consistency in the armor. The design stayed pretty consistent. You're not getting a lot of morphing at all. So, hey, this is awesome. I've been playing around with this for a little while now. I finally decided to get into it about a week and a half ago, and just learning how to do it, and figuring out the different techniques that are utilized to kind of give some more stability to these animations so they're not so fluttery and all over the place. Animatediff is an amazing extension. I love it. So if you get a chance, give it a try, and end up with results like this. I mean, this is fantastic. I'm going to do one more. We're going to flip the aspect ratio so it's now portrait, but a long portrait, 9:16, because I want to see what it does if it creates this full body character and if it shows him trying to walk in this particular one. Okay, so a couple of things. I hit generate. I got a little ahead of myself, got a little excited. I forgot I had to regenerate a new image in that aspect ratio and drop that down into the, what do you call it, the control net. So it's not showing it here. I kind of clicked something and messed it up, but it kept it in there. Re-enabled everything, re-rendered it, and here's what we get. And this is phenomenal. I mean, yeah, you get some buildings kind of moving in the background, but the overall image itself, you got him walking, you got the fire in the background, you got the smoke billowing. I mean, this is a phenomenal little animation. And the details stay consistent. Like, I'm going to keep that. I'm going to put that up on the Discord in our showcase, our artistic showcase channel. So have fun with this. This is super simple. Once you get everything laid out, again, it's pretty simple once you get all the settings in place. For speedier animations or renderings, make sure you keep it down to, like I said, I like doing 768 once in a while. But if you want the faster renderings, do it at the 640 by 360 if you're doing 916, or just right around that 512 range, give or take a couple hundred pixels. Okay. That's really about it. If you guys have questions, obviously post them, and join our Discord. I'll put another link to our Discord. You can come in and see what people are doing. We're doing a lot of stuff with Comfy UI. People are helping each other out. And honestly, we just hit the 3,000 subscriber mark, and I never really thought that my channel would ever amount to this, and it's been honestly, I'm kind of floored by the whole thing. So never thought I really had anything to offer, but apparently people like what I have, the knowledge I have, and I'm hoping I bring something to people that allows them to do some really cool stuff like this. And would love to see what you guys do. Join our Discord and show us what you're doing. Subscribe, like, and leave comments, and we'll talk to you later.